Hello, and welcome back to the Keep It at Real Estate with Chris,
Jen
Bober. And we are so excited to come to you today and talk about a program that we've been doing for a while, but we're really highlighting this program because it accounts for a lot of our business. And it is our estate and senior real estate program. And this is just a program that we end up finding about to be a quarter to a third of our business every year is dealing with these types of properties. Now, just as a reminder, our mission at Team Bober is to build relationships by providing a positive real estate experience to exceed our clients' expectations. And our purpose is to educate and empower our clients, to serve with authentic hospitality, and to provide client-first representation. As a reminder, if you are listening to this as a podcast, click that subscribe button. You're watching on YouTube, right down there is a little subscribe button, and you can obviously click the bell for notifications. And on any social media that you're finding this on, go ahead and smash that like button, follow us, retweet, give us some comments, some feedback if you have any questions, all the things that go out there. We just really want to spread the message of what we do to help more people. Okay, so let's talk about estate and senior real estate.
Yeah.
Like I said, in looking back over the past several years, we've done dozens of these transactions.
Yeah.
And
they're unique, they're special, and so we'll get into that today.
And they are, and we love doing them, helping people through this time. And one of the things that comes up that we like about it, and again, my wife Jennifer obviously has the hospitality as one of her strengths in helping people through what is usually a difficult time.
Yeah,
right?
It's usually a major transition in life. Oftentimes is coming, but sometimes it's a sudden shift. And so it comes with its own unique set of challenges and opportunities and things like that. And,
I was trying to think of a way to describe what this estate and senior real estate program is, but it's basically selling mom and dad's house. And that sometimes will happen when one or both of them is still alive, or a lot of times it happens after they pass, and you have to deal with the estate. Right. And we're going to talk about all the things that come with all of that. I just also want to announce that just recently I did earn the Senior Real Estate Specialist designation. And I really did it, obviously, for like a credential that makes people, makes them confident in what we do. But I learned so much.
Yeah,
I really did. So I'm excited to apply that to all the business that we have within the estate and senior real estate program. But what I wanted to focus on today, Jen and I, we want to focus on our 3 pillars of service within the estate and senior real estate program. And this will help explain kind of what this is and what we do and how we think we do it better than anyone else. And our main focus within these 3 pillars is number 1 is the client.
Always the client.
And we talk about one of our purposes is to provide client first representation. And the client is the central figure in all of our business, right? The relationship part of it. And so many times the client gets referred to us by relationships that we know. That's almost all of our business. And so when you talk about clients in these transactions, there's really two kinds.
Right.
The first one is going to be the senior owner, right? The owner is still alive, they're in the house, and they are the decision makers. And the key word in dealing with these senior homeowners is dignity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a top priority for us, is making sure that they're really the number one person that we're speaking to, helping understand, not taking anything for granted, not assuming they know things. And we'll get into why in a second. But the dignity is a huge piece of helping them through this, to give them the confidence to make these hard decisions.
Yeah, and we enjoy working with them because they've had a lifetime of wisdom built up. And, a lot of times it's the kids that reach out to us. And sometimes the kids want to kind of take over that situation, but we got to be very careful to, have compassion and give dignity to the senior and the owner.
The kids or the whoever that's helping with the situation is always usually has great intentions of making it easier, helping them out. But we can be an objective perspective in the situation. And really make sure we're giving, mom or dad or grandma or grandpa the opportunity to speak and things like that.
Yeah, they usually are. They're pretty wise, and they kind of keep their mouth shut until something needs to be said.
Right.
Now, the other part, you got the senior owner, but if the occupant, the senior, has passed away, then we're dealing with the kids a lot of times. And these are the heirs to the property, and they reach out to us, mom or dad passed away, and we need to help getting the house sold. And this is all about communication.
Yep.
Because then you have several people who are either decision makers or advisors for the decision makers, and we have to make sure that we communicate with each one of them in the way that they like to be communicated with. Coming in, we have to oftentimes help them understand the ownership process.
How the ownership is.
And we'll discuss that a little bit later, but it's amazing to me how many times people will maybe use the wrong words or think that the property can go a certain way. We do a lot of education in this part.
Yeah.
And, so whether we're dealing with the senior owner or the kids, we need to give the seniors and them dignity, and we need to help communicate with the kids, help them understand everything. And ultimately, they are the most important part of this, and we have to really kind of cater to them. Now, the second part of it is the property, right?
Property
and
itself.
In these type of situation, whether it's an estate or it's a senior selling their house, a lot of things come up on a regular basis. Mom and dad lived in their house.
30 years.
The generation that is the seniors now
Yes.
are people that have lived in their house for a long time.
Decades.
They take a lot of pride in their house, but they're also usually very comfortable. And sometimes we go into these things where the property's a little dated, and that's okay. They loved it. It was perfect for them. We want to go in there and help them understand how the market sees the property. Right. And we want to help them see what their options are. They can take and sell the property as it is, or there's a myriad of options that they have. They want to maybe replace something, fix something, do some updating. What I'll do is I'll go and I'll give them a valuation for maybe as is.
The property as it sits.
And then the next, maybe if they update something, or maybe if they do a full-blown renovation. Oftentimes it comes down to it. They're going through a difficult time.
Full-blown renovation usually is never the case.
Most of the time they just want to, hey, listen, can you sell it as it is?
Yeah.
And we do very well at that.
Yeah.
But it does take a little while. It's a hard thing to go in there and maybe say mom and dad's house isn't worth what they think it is because it has some issues or it's a little dated.
Yeah. But that's okay. It's part of the education process, and you can usually get them on board.
It really is, and honesty is the best policy in this way.
Yeah.
Just to show them the facts and help them understand the market.
I'd rather there be a little bit of a awkwardness out of the gates when we're talking about property value and what it really is going to look like in the market versus presenting it to the market and it's overpriced and then we're having difficult discussions down the line. So it's always good just to have that honesty is the best policy right away.
Yeah, just be a little softer with it because sometimes it's hard, doing that. So, but again, between Jen and I think we have that covered pretty darn well. And then the third pillar that is part of our estate and senior real estate program is helping people understand the process.
Yeah, it's really interesting with these type of senior sellers because, like we mentioned, they've been in their home a lot of times for decades. This might be the only home they've ever owned. They've never sold a home. So here they are later in life, and they don't have the first idea of how this process works. On one side, you can look at the first-time home buyer, and that's such a big education process. But it is, too, for these really first-time home sellers. And, again, they come with much more wisdom and things like that. But it's still a teaching process.
Absolutely. And a lot of times especially if it's after, the parents have passed, we have to help them come in and understand the ownership because it isn't always clear. I mean,
it almost never is clear.
And so many times, our clients, like the kids, will tell us, "Oh yeah, it's in probate," or "I'm the executor," or whatever it is. What we really rely on is going then to their attorney and working closely with the attorney to understand how it is. There's several different statuses it could be, right? It could be in probate, right, which is the process of where the state will have to settle the estate, and you have to go hire an attorney. Someone has to get registered as a personal representative, and then they become the decision maker, the de facto owner of the estate.
Right.
And they make the decisions until the estate is settled according to the will or whatever documentation they have. But a lot of people don't quite understand that there's a personal representative or representatives, but sometimes there's also people who are part of that decision making too.
Right.
So one of the brothers is the personal representative, then he's got a brother and two sisters who aren't personal representatives,
but they have an opinion.
Yeah, so we have to navigate that.
There's always a cast of characters in every real estate transaction. With these specific situations, these life transitions, and senior situations, that layer can get a little bit more deeper.
Absolutely.
Just making sure we know who all's having an opinion.
Other ways ownership can be had is within a trust, which does not have to go through the probate process, but then we have to see the trust documents, and then we have to know who are the trustees, who are the actual signers, and then we rely on attorneys and people to help them navigate the legal aspects of that.
And it's so important to do it the right way. So almost immediately when we get these types of calls, Chris is on the phone getting lawyer contact information, because we're not lawyers. So we want to make sure we're coming out of the gates with this process and doing it in the right and legal way.
And then we just dealt with one very recently. It was a transfer on death. So the senior had died, and then the 4 kids now became owners.
Right.
So then every one of them had equal ownership, and we had to go and navigate that process. It was four kids and 4 spouses. And the challenge in this is, most of them were good at the digital signing, but 2 of them didn't do email. So we had to drive and go get their signatures and scan stuff in. It's just another part of the service that we provide that we're willing to do to help people through that process.
Our communication file on that one was pretty deep.
Yep. And the most important thing about everything is getting on the same page.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is difficult because everyone has opinions and feelings about the stuff.
Yes.
Of course, also in that process, we come in and help with the valuation. That's a big thing about what I do. I talk about it in its current state, how the market's going to see it like that, and then if there needs to be repairs or some updating or stuff like that. That's really important for them to understand, because they're going to divide it, and it becomes a number.
Yeah.
But it's also maybe their house they grew up in.
Yeah.
So you gotta tread lightly in going through those. The actual listing process, that we do for every listing, we have to communicate that with either the senior or their kids, and we do have to go through it in detail, but also not overwhelm them, to show them what we do.
Right.
Like our value as actually listing and selling the property. Sometimes you have to deal with personal property.
Oh yeah.
That's a really big deal, because a lifetime of memories and collections of things are oftentimes in the house. We do have some resources for cleanup, for maybe estate sales, but that's a step that we have to navigate.
Yes.
It isn't like they're just moving,
Right.
They got to deal with stuff that sometimes needs to be divided. Some people live out of town. There is challenges in that. And then, of course, once we do get it listed, access to the property. Oh, yeah. Right? If someone's not living there.
Right. And typically the neighbors, there's always a neighbor or two that's watching out for this particular property, or these sellers or their kids, or, so that you got to kind of know there's usually eyes on you.
And we do a lot of business in South Omaha, where we're from.
Yeah.
But it's almost everywhere. If someone's living there and there's someone who passed away, they have a lot of friends in the neighborhood, and a lot of times we go through and say, okay, who are the neighbors that have keys to the property, number one, and who's going to be watching us,
right?
Because they'll let us know who's there. I mean, it's the safest it gets, and we have to sometimes get their information so that we can communicate with them, so they're not calling the police or coming over and knocking on the door like, what are you doing in this house?
I think it takes communication to like a little bit to the next level, because you can be communicating with the new buyer that they want to stop over and just pop in for a minute and check, I don't know, measure something, let's say. But you've got to let the kids, all the kids know that's going to happen, because Bill next door is going to be watching and he's going to be calling those kids. So you just have to very quickly communicate to everybody, so that we're not, getting calls of people upset.
Yeah, definitely another piece of the puzzle when you're dealing with estate and senior real estate. And then, of course, the decision-making process sometimes is a little challenging, because we get offers in, and we want to review them. Do we get them on the phone? Do we go see them at the house? Sometimes they're out of town, so we use technology, and sometimes it's a conference call. Yep. But we go through that process as well, because we don't want anyone to feel like they're not a part of it.
Being left out.
Even if they're not the personal representative, they want to hear about the offers. They want to help make the decision. We do navigate that as well. So, and then of course the closing date. That's usually a pretty personal thing. When can they get the stuff out? When are they going to finish up? And then whatever process they're within, whether it's probate, trust, or ownership, we got to help them navigate all that.
Right.
So those are basically the pillars of what we do, and we help people through all of those. And it is a little bit more of a service that we do provide, but we really enjoy it. it because it's taken a lifetime of memories in a home and then helping them make that transition.
Yeah.
And it's something that we get a lot out of.
Yeah.
And we actually
it's
get a
really
lot of
rewarding.
It is. We get a lot of referrals from it too. If you do a good job, all those kids, they want to refer you their business and their friends' business too. So just one bonus that we do have is when you work with Team Bober for our senior or estate and senior real estate program, that you then also have access to all of our resources.
Yeah.
There's a lot. But sometimes more people in this process than there is a regular home sale. An example of this would be someone to help come in and clean up the house, someone who do repairs, someone who does maybe estate sales, some security sometimes an issue, or HVAC that if someone's not in the house, it has to go get taken care of. A huge one is for us is access to attorneys.
Yeah.
We have some great attorneys we work with that specialize in either elder law or estate and probate law, and they're very valuable resources that they can hire.
And we have people also that their business specifically is to help pack and help these folks make this transition in this stage of life specifically.
And if it does come up, we do have a lot of people in the area that have that next transitional living, whether it's an active community of 55 plus or any of the, I wouldn't say we're experts at that, but we do have some resources.
Yep.
Most of the time people are doing that on their own.
They've already got that,
But we
sure.
do have some resources for that. And then of course any tax advice. That's a big deal when it comes to transferring a property, especially when it's an estate or something like that.
Yeah.
There's maybe an inheritance tax, there could be any sort of tax implications that we want to make sure they understand before they make that decision.
Yeah, you don't want
at
the surprise on that.
Not at all.
No.
But as you can see, we do have a lot of passion for estates in the senior real estate within this program. And, if you do know of anyone that is going through a difficult time like this, I believe that Team Bober, Jen and I, could be very valuable assets for something that's going to happen as far as selling that estate or selling that house for your mom or dad. We love doing it. And we have a lot of resources. We're very well experienced and trained to handle it. So that's going to wrap it up. We're going to continue to put more information about this program out there. And so make sure you click the link in the captions. Wherever you're seeing this video, click the link in the captions. It's going to have a ton of resources and ways to reach out to us. You can always find us at our website, teambober.com. And of course, our names and phone numbers are out there everywhere and all that stuff. But lastly, as a reminder, if you are watching this, make sure you subscribe to our channels. If you're listening to this podcast, subscribe to the podcast. And, out on social media, if you'll help spread the word, it's just something we love doing. I think we provide a great service. And we want to continue to expand our estate and senior real estate program here at Team Bober Nebraska Realty. So thanks for joining us today. If you have any questions, just reach out. We are never too busy for you or any of your referrals. Have a great day.
Thanks.